You're listening to The Next Stop Is with Jane August. And I know I've had a lot of theater guests on the podcast, but it is something I love so much. And also, I know so many theater people that I want to hang out with, so they're just going to keep coming. But over the past few years, the New York theater space has shifted. Pre-pandemic, we saw the influence that social media and fandom had in the theater world and how young people started claiming the medium as their own. Songs from Beetlejuice the Musical went viral on TikTok and made the show a hit, so much that it got a return engagement after its initial closing. Young people's love for Be More Chill got an off-Broadway run and then a Broadway run in 2019. But since Broadway's reopening in 2021 after the pandemic shutdown, we have had an even bigger shift with the rise of the theater influencer. If TikTok was a thing in 2017, I'm convinced that I would be one of them. But while I'm not, I am an arts and culture influencer, I guess, so I am adjacent to them. At least from my perspective, there is an obvious core group of Broadway influencers, which I'm not sure you can say about many other influencer niches. Once I went to a theater event and I sat with the theater influencers and I was like, whoa, like I'm in it. So today we are talking about the phenomenon and overall just a love for the art form with Ashley Hufford of Ash Sees All the Theater fame on TikTok and Instagram. And she has almost 100,000 followers across platforms where she shares all of the theater. And I think she creates some of the most heartfelt and authentic theater content. All of her work comes from a place of joy and love for the craft. And outside her theater content, Ashley is a creative producer at Red, Wine, and Blue, which is a nonprofit that works to engage women in swing districts to vote and make change in the U.S. politics. She has created content for the National Hockey League, Bleacher Report, and a lot more. And also, Ashley has an Emmy Award for Outstanding Social Television Experience for her work on Garbage Time with Katie Nolan. And probably so many other things we have left to discover. So welcome, Ashley.
Hi, so nice.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
I'm very excited to be here.
Yay. So I didn't know that you had so much content background until I read your whole website for this interview.
Yeah, it's not something that I hide, but I feel like I had very different eras of my life. So I worked in sports for 10 years. I went to film school and I worked in sports for 10 years. And then since 2020, I've worked in politics. And then theater started kind of around the same time. So,
do you feel like you're kind of living a double life with your content job and then your theater personal persona?
Oh, totally. It's very funny because I think a lot of people who make TikToks kind of feel that way, where there feels like there's your online self and then your in-person self. And I do think that I'm very authentic on the internet. It's not that I'm a different person, but I just feel like sometimes people in my real life who will mention, they'll be like, "Oh, I saw you do TikTok," and I'm like, oh no, how did you see? It's not something that everyone can just look up.
I was at work and someone's like, yo, I heard you do TikTok. You came on my feed. And I'm like, okay, did you follow me? I was like, then it doesn't matter.
So I work with a majority suburban women. A lot of them don't live in New York. Majority of them don't live in New York. And one of them messaged me. This is a year and a half ago. And she's like, and I've worked with her for over a year. But again, we're in different departments. We're not super close working together. And she messaged me on Slack and she goes, wait, are you you're on TikTok, right? And I was like, what? And she's like, my daughter loves your TikTok. And I did not put it together that it was you until yesterday. And I was like, yeah, kind of. I do sort of sometimes do that, I guess.
But how did you get into the theater content then, separate from your work?
Yeah, I think my story is very similar to a lot of people that started TikToks, which was the pandemic, right? So basically, I've always been a theater person. I guess taking it back a little bit, in 2016, Donald Trump became president. And I went through a really horrible breakup. And I was just in this really not good emotional place. And so I made this list and I was like, what will make me happy for 2017? And the thing that the number one on my list was, I was like, I want to see more theater. I went to NYU. I used to see theater all the time. And then I started working and I just it just became a thing where I didn't make a priority to see theater. And I was still seeing probably more theater than a lot of normal people, but for me, I had not seen a lot of theater in a long time. And so in 2017, I started this project that was a personal project I called it A Show a Week 2017, and I tried to see it didn't have to be Broadway, but Broadway, off Broadway, community, whatever. I wanted to see a show once a week for all of 2017, which is hilarious now because I see so much theater. But that was kind of where I started really upping my theater, I guess. And so 2017, I took it really, really seriously. I started seeing a lot of theater. I think I saw 58 shows in 2017.
Oh, wow.
2018, I saw almost 100 shows. 2019, I saw 130 shows. 2020, I saw not that many because it's 2020. And then March of 2020, 5 years ago, the pandemic hits. And at that time, I was working actually in Toronto. So I was living in Toronto, Canada for work. And I'd moved up there in 2019, and I didn't really know anybody because I started in like May of 2019. So this was March, like less than a year later. I had a couple friends, but not a ton because I worked all the time. And then the pandemic hits, and I'm living by myself, and I'm alone in this apartment in Toronto. And I just started making videos like talking about theater on the internet. And the first video that kind of blew up was I was like, I'm going to, redo my life. And so I was like, I pulled out all my playbills that were in all these boxes, and I like started going through my playbills. So it was like an organizing playbill video that I like made a TikTok about, and it got like 300,000 views. And I was like, oh, hi. And then the next the real one that like I kind of overnight exploded was there's this book called A is for Audra. It's a children's book, and on every page it's like a different Broadway diva. And so I started doing a series where I went through and like did a video on each Broadway diva in the book. And the first one was Audra McDonald, and that video like exploded, and I gained like 10,000 followers like overnight. And so that was sort of like my first like foray into the theater. Like, again, not even influencing, because at that point I wouldn't even call it influencing. It was just like theater community. And I started like really making a lot of content all the time because I, again, was home and bored and just making videos. And I moved back to New York that December. And then theater reopened the following September. So like it was kind of just like that year and a half of just like being at home making videos about theater. I met a ton of friends like through the internet, but none of us had really met in person. And then my first show back post-pandemic was Hadestown, and then here we are. So it's been kind of a crazy ride.
How many shows do you think you have seen and documented on your channel?
I mean, it's got to be almost over 1,000 at this point. Last year I saw 280.
Whoa.
I mean, this year I've seen 64 shows.
I think I've seen 7. Like this year I was like, yeah, I'm doing so well. I'm seeing 3 shows a month.
So like, again, like my like last year I saw 281, but I also I went to Edinburgh Fringe, right? So like on Fringe I saw 35 shows in like 5 days. And again, like the way that I would say like all of the theater influencers, like the way we discuss like what is a show versus what is not a show is like very different. So like I don't count anything I see at like 54 Below. Like that would not go into my count. But like other people do count 54 Below shows. But I like did count Ben Platt's like concert, even though it was a concert. But it was like
if there's a playbill,
right,
then it counts.
Correct. That's kind of how I feel. But then like we went to the What's on Stage Awards in London, which is like kind of a big award show for them, and like I didn't count it, but then like other people, not gonna throw shade, but other people did count it because it was like we did get a playbill. But I was like, but it's not a show; it's an award show. But again, I
think when I went to the Tonys, I did count it as
a show.
And
I think, and it is in like in Mezzanine they do have like What's on Stage, and they have the Tonys. So like exactly.
I've seen 8 shows this year.
But you know what? That's great. 8 shows is more than 0 shows. Like my goal is to get like everyone I know to like go see a piece of theater that they like might not already go see. Like if I can get my mom to like go see something that's not like, and again, no shade to like Mamma Mia, I love Mamma Mia, but like when I can get my mom to like see something that like might be challenging to her or like might like shift something, like
Titanic,
right? Like but like again, like I love Titanic, so like no, and I can't wait to see Amber Ardolino in Titanic. But like that's the thing is I'm like I just want people to see theater, and so any kind of theater is good theater.
I love tracking things because then I don't forget. I remember so many things now, but when I become older, I will forget a lot of the things, and so by having it documented,
right,
then it is there. Like all my museums, I recently made one of every concert I've been to,
that's
every concert
cool.
I've worked, which is insane.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, like that's a good example. Like I worked in sports for 10 years, and I have like credentials from all the events that I work because you need credentials. And so I made like in my apartment because I had them just in a box, and I was like, what am I gonna do with this? And I almost like thought about throwing it out, and I was like, I don't want to throw it out. So I got like a big frame, and I kind of just made like a collage of like all my credentials, and I like, put it on the wall in like my guest bedroom. And I was like, oh, I like having this because I like being like, oh, look, I worked like a Stanley Cup final, or like I went to the All-Star game. Like that's really cool. Like I'm glad I have that, even though it's not like sports is not anything that I'm like passionate about anymore, and I don't work in sports, and I don't really miss working in sports, but I did have those experiences, and it was like a long time of my life, and I'm glad I have that like to show and for it. After I left the NHL, I mostly worked in like for social, and it was more like I always say like storytelling. I don't really care about the score of the game, but like I want to hear about like the first time this athlete did something. I want to hear the story of their childhood best friend. Mm-hmm. Like to me, those are always really like way more interesting. And so favorite thing I ever covered was when I worked for Bleacher Report, I did a video on this little girl who had a 3D printed hand because she was born without a hand, and her mom got it 3D printed, and she threw a first pitch at a baseball game, and she like was like 6, and she's like, my goal is to throw a first pitch at every MLB stadium, and the video exploded overnight, and she ended up getting a sponsorship from like United Airlines and from a hotel, and every single team in the league invited her, and her family spent the entire next season going to every single MLB stadium so that this little girl could throw a first pitch at every game. And like, how cool. And like, I got to go to the World Series and watch her throw a first pitch at the World Series.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, that's crazy. Like, and again, that was not even like, that was not the intention of the video. It was just like, I found this little girl. I was like, she'd be a really good story. They were like, go for it. I like interviewed them. We made a little video, and then, you know, and that's like so fun. Like, and I'm still friends with her mom on Facebook. Like, that is a fun story.
I want to throw the first pitch at every Broadway theater.
There you go.
Like, what was your like first introduction to theater? When did you start loving theater?
Okay, so I grew up in Rye, New York, which is like 45 minutes outside of the city. So theater has been part of my life as long as I can remember. My first show that I remember seeing in person was I saw Beauty and the Beast when I was 4. My mom and her 2 best friends they all have 3 daughters, 2 girls who are the same age as me. We all got dressed up in our little party dresses. We came and saw Beauty and the Beast. I was little, but like my main thing is I thought we were seeing the movie, and then it wasn't the movie, and I like lost my mind. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my whole life. And so theater became like every birthday I wanted to go to the theater. Every like holiday, that was like my present. You know, I saw Annie a bunch. Then when I was 13, we saw Wicked. That became a big thing, shockingly. And then Rent became a big thing. Spring Awakening became a big thing. My grandma took me to see Mamma Mia for like my 13th birthday or 14th birthday, and I was like, this is amazing. And because I like loved it so much, she took me like every year for like 3 years or 4 years, because she's like, well, you liked it.
She's like, here we go again.
And I was like, yes, please. Like, and so theater's always kind of been like a part of my like, and again, in a way that I joke, not joke, but like, it's a whole big thing when you get to like, when you go to every Broadway theater, like it's a goal for everyone to go to like every Broadway theater. And like when I tracked if I had done it, I had already done it before I could like celebrate that I had done it, because I had just already been, and I was like, oh, like again, so privileged, but also I was like, oh, it could have been a big moment, and I just didn't even know it happened.
I have one left.
Which one?
The Majestic.
Oh my goodness.
I never saw Phantom.
So now you got to go see Gypsy.
And then I was like, y'all, I got to go see Phantom so I can mark this off. And then never saw Phantom. And I'm like, it's okay. I wasn't into it before. So
yeah.
I was more like for like cultural reasons. I'm like, why is it closing?
Right.
You know, I was like, that was like a great show.
I will say, if you're going to see it, I'd go see it in London, because it is such a cool experience. Because that's where it started. It was the Her Majesty's Theatre. Now it is the His Majesty's Theatre, because they changed the name when Charles became king. And it is this super tiny, like intimate little theater. I mean, most theaters in London are like tiny, but it's just crazy because you're seeing this huge, massive show in the smallest little space.
Well, my first Broadway show was Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
Oh, that's a good one.
I didn't go to a Broadway show until I was 18.
Which is, I think, a normal experience.
Yeah.
Again, like I think most people who don't live, if you didn't grow up like in the New York area, like that's super.
Yeah. So we visit my grandparents in Brooklyn all the time. I was like, can we go see Wicked? And we never saw Wicked. My entire life. I was like a kid. I was in like middle school. I'm like, can we go see Wicked?
My Wicked story is very funny because I saw it with my class in middle school, and we were supposed to see something else. I cannot remember the show, and it closed early on Broadway. And so they were like, okay, instead we're going to go see the show. It's in previews. It's called Wicked. It's like a Wizard of Oz thing. And we all were like, ugh, this sounds so stupid. We're 13.
Like, we want to see Avenue Q.
Right. We're like, this is for babies. But like, we were such brats about it. Like, we were complaining the whole time. We were so mad. They were forcing us to go see this stupid, wicked Wizard of Oz thing. And then like the first act ends, and like the curtain comes up, and I'm sobbing. Both of my friends are sobbing. We're like, this is the greatest piece of theater we've ever seen. And there's no cast recording yet, so we can't like. It was like the first time that I was like waiting. There was a local like music store at RIP, it closed, called Coconuts, that was like in my town, and like I remember being like, the Wicked cast recording comes out on Tuesday, and like school ended, and I like made my dad drive me to the store so I could like buy. It was like my first like, I have to own this cast recording. All I wanted to talk about was Wicked. That was like such a big moment, and yeah.
When it came out, I was like, oh my god, the Wicked movie's been like coming out for like 20 years, and now we get it.
No,
and it was like one of those most like, surreal experiences in my life. I'm like, oh my god, it's real and it's actually good.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. I can't believe it's good. I still can't believe it's good.
So we talked about how you got in theater and theater content, and how you started loving theater. Do you feel like it's kind of weird having something that you love so much that is now like kind of a job-ish for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I feel very lucky because this will never be my full-time job, and I would never want it to be my full-time job. Not that I obviously like I do sometimes make money from it. I occasionally get offers. I mostly get tickets, which is really all I want and would ever ask for, because that's my favorite thing is seeing theater. And I couldn't see the amount of theater that I see without getting invited to shows, and like I feel very lucky for that. But I think part of the reason I love it so much is that I'm like, I can walk away at any time. Like at the end of the day, like if I decided tomorrow that I'm like, this is not making me happy anymore, I would just stop making content. I mean, I would not stop seeing theater because I love theater, but it's not my job, and it'll never be my full-time job, and I wouldn't want it to be. But for the most part, I'm very lucky because I would never take money from a show that I didn't like at least somewhat enjoy. Like I would never. I always say this, like in general, I'm very positive on my page, and people will like be like, and I'm like, no, like one thing, like I have a personality where I just like a lot of things. So in general, I just like stuff, and so puts me, I guess, in a good category of making positive content, because I just, in general, mostly like things. And if I don't like something, I just, like, won't make a video on it. And so that kind of saves, and even though, like, it's annoying because I know how, like, I'm sure you'd feel the same way, where, like, the way the algorithm works, if I made a video just being like, this show sucks, and let me tell you why, it'd go viral.
And every person who worked on it should be ashamed of themselves.
Right. Like, and everyone is terrible. The worst person ever. They should never work again. Like, but that video would go viral, and I would, and like in the creator fund, I'd like make lots of money.
I make like theater videos here and there when I see stuff. And when I saw Aladdin, I was like, this was underwhelming. Like the magic carpet, underwhelming. Like it was no Miss Saigon helicopter.
No.
And then it was like, what do you mean? It's the best thing ever. And I was like, you never saw Aladdin at Disneyland California Adventure when the magic carpet goes over the audience.
This is my whole thing, is I'm like, all theater should be, Germany has been doing like crazy cool weird theater, or like not weird, normal theater, but they did a Wicked that was a non-replica Wicked where Elphaba flies over the whole entire audience, and I was like, where is that? Give me that. I don't want this. Just who cares if she goes up and have her fly over my head?
Yeah, but everyone got so mad at me for saying that Aladdin was mid.
People are very attached, and I will be super upfront. I am not a Disney kid. I'm just not. Mm-hmm. No shade to Disney adults. I have been to Disney World. I've been to Disneyland. I have fun riding roller coasters. But if I was picking a show, it would not be a Disney musical.
Yeah, I think we saw it because it was like when they were reopening, they had like the deal. And I was like, okay, I've never seen Lion King. I've never seen Aladdin. And then I was like, why? In Lion King, why is Timon green? That was my thing. I walked away. I'm like, why is he green, but no one else is green? And why at the beginning of Act 2 are there suddenly humans? Like, dramaturgically, I've not found anyone on the internet talk about this.
With me, it was like, so I saw Lion King for my 18th birthday because I hadn't been to the Majestic, and that was like my birthday present, was like, anyway. And it was like so magical. And then when I saw it like a year ago, it was very different. And I was like, did I imagine it? But no, like 10 years ago, they took the tour, they made the tour version, the Broadway version. It cut a lot of stuff from the original Broadway production on Broadway. And so I was like, why did I remember all these? Because it was different. And that I was like, okay, now I feel less crazy. Because I was like so confused, because I was like, I remembered like different songs. I remembered different, like much more costumes and bigger numbers. And I was just like, did I imagine all of this in my head? No.
Was he still green in the
I
original?
believe he was still green.
Yeah,
though.
I was like really.
I think it's
really
supposed to
upset
look
about
like
this.
he's coming out of a bush, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
look
it's
like
so
that.
he can blend in with the greenery. I'm like, you're in Africa. There's no greenery. Like, also, no one else is green.
He lives in the jungle. Did you forget?
There's a jungle in Lion King. I also I don't think I saw like Lion King until I was like an adult.
Oh my God. So the Lion King movie was like my favorite Disney movie as a kid. And so I think I was a cartoon animal person. I was not a cartoon human person, if that makes sense. So I loved like Lion King. I loved like Aristocats. I loved like 101 Dalmatians. But anyway, hot take. Everyone's going to cancel me for not loving Disney.
I'm fascinated by the structure of Disney, and I love reading about how like every Disney ride came to be.
Yeah.
But I am not like a diehard.
Yeah.
And it's like there's been very few like Disney properties that I was attached to. In 2013, I was really into Frozen, and before it like blew up on the radio when it like went on DVD. But I didn't see that when I was on Broadway. I was like, okay, I've aged out of it, I guess.
I will be super honest. It was not good on Broadway. It is much better on tour, and I saw it in London. I liked it a lot better.
Okay.
The cast was great in New York. No shade to the cast, but it was a weird production, and they retooled it for the tour and for London, and it was much better.
I feel like it's never the cast.
No.
And unfortunately, it's like every time you have any criticism for a show, you have to be like, but not the cast.
But not the cast, not the
they're
cast.
fine.
Everyone works hard. Well, I think it's because like you're aware of like, do I think that that actors in bad shows know they're in bad shows? Like probably.
Yeah.
Do you think actors in bad shows wish they were in a good show? Probably.
Yeah.
But everyone deserves health insurance, so we do jobs sometimes for things that we know are not good because we need money to work because capitalism is a thing.
I was working in theater for a while, and the amount of like bad shows I worked on, or like
Yeah.
you know, like bad plays I did in college, and it's like, okay, you need to get the credit though.
Right.
It's like,
and you're like, would I rather work on something good? Of course.
the best time to find a better job is while you have a current
Correct.
job.
100%.
And sometimes those bad shows are like fun to work on.
Oh
at
no,
least.
and you're wrong. I love a bad musical. Like, again, I will ride for Diana the musical every single day. I love that show. I'm so far in Diana the musical that I will argue that it is a good musical. But I get it. I get people's complaints with it. I love Diana the musical. I love Tammy Faye. People were like, "You don't like Tammy Faye." I was like, I wouldn't make a video saying I love Tammy Faye if I didn't love Tammy Faye. Now again, I'm a New York Jew, therefore I have no connection to any. To me, it was completely fictional, and people were like, "That was the," and I was like. But to me, it's a fictional. I don't know any of the only person in that whole story I'd ever heard of was Ronald Reagan. Like, I did not know any Jerry. I'd never heard of Jerry Falwell. I'd never heard. So I had fun. And if you didn't have fun, that's fine. We don't have to all agree. But I loved it.
I saw Escape to Margaritaville. I got a comp though, and we're like, we should have had a second margarita. Like, I felt like being like drunk was what we needed to do. But it was like, we had a fun time. And, like, they made a lot of choices.
Once Upon a One More Time. Loved it.
I'm
loved it.
so sad I didn't see it.
Like, and again, people were like, it's bad. And I was like, what's your definition of bad? Because I'm having fun. And some shows can just be fun.
Yeah.
Like,
I think right now I've been really into like stupidity, and like stupid can be like a positive thing. Like, I love things that are stupid.
You have to see Death Becomes Her then. And I mean, that is a very Death Becomes Her is good, but there are some things that are so stupid in it, but like because they use body doubles, but they don't try to hide that they're using body doubles. So like it's even funnier because there's like scenes where like Jen Smart will like obviously go off stage and then like a different person will come out, and it's like it's so dumb but so fun.
I call it like a hot dog in Times Square stupid. And you're like, why are they doing this? This is so stupid, but it's so funny. And like Titanic, I keep when it started, I tell people, I'm like, I'm going to kill myself when Titanic closes. And luckily it keeps extending. Hi, it's Jane. I just need to insert a note here because since we recorded this, Titanic did announce that it is closing. And I want to confirm that I am not planning to actually kill myself because of this. Now back with the podcast.
I haven't seen it since it moved. So it's been like over 2 years. So I saw it when the Griceties was open. I saw it when the Griceties was closed. But I actually have not been to the new venue yet. And now I'm going to go see it for Amber. But I've not been in a long time.
I saw it again in January when my sister-in-law came to town because she's like, what should we see? I'm like, it's finally on TDF.
Yeah,
we're gonna go to
Titanic.
And the TDF tickets were awesome. So I really all about stupid theater. But then you're talking about like being authentic and talking about theater you like, and I feel like how with social media influencers I see them talking about theater. I'm like, how do we know who's really being authentic and who isn't about what they like and what they care about on theater?
I mean, what I always say is that your favorite influencer will do better engagement if they talk about theater. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing. Like videos where you're talking positively about shows do not do as well as videos where you're talking negatively about shows. So like, obviously, if they're getting paid or whatnot, and you have to say certain things, but in general, and I'm not saying that everyone's honest 100% of the time, but I think that like the reason that influencers are getting invited to things is because they probably genuinely like a lot of things. And obviously there are like critics, and I think there's a difference between like critical analysis and like theater influencing. Mm-hmm. And there's like a very definitive line between those two things, and I think you have to figure out who are the like theater critics on TikTok versus who are the theater cheerleaders on TikTok. Mm-hmm. I guess is the better phrasing.
What was like the theater TikTok space like when you started? Because you started in 2020.
Yeah.
Like, what was?
It was literally mostly just people just talking about random things. So it would be like I did a whole series where I went through like the entire history of like the Spider-Man musical, and then like when I followed Kate Ranking, Theater is Life, like she was doing a whole series on like Legally Blondes, and I was like, I love Legally Blonde. This person looks cool. Follow, and like now I see Kate all the time, and they're like a very, very close friend of mine. Grace Walker would do like all these like very, intense play videos, and like it was just like a very mishmash of like stuff. And a lot of people who, again, I wasn't living in New York when I started doing TikTok, and either Grace wasn't, I wasn't, Kate wasn't. Actually, none of us, there was not a lot of New York, but there wasn't a lot of New York, obviously, theater happening at the time. Like, it's just a lot of, like, it was more just like we were all having conversations about theater. It was a lot of, like, and it was before, like, I think Stitches even were a thing. So it was kind of like you were like, go look at this person's video, but I want to talk about this. And it was just kind of like these big group chats, but like all public information, just talking about things that you cared about.
And how did it evolve, like, once Broadway reopened? Like, when do we really see the rise of, like, the theater influencer?
That is a good question. And I'm trying to think. Because I was probably, what was, like, the first show I even got invited to? Because the first show I ever got invited to was pre-pandemic, pre-TikTok, and it was Be More Chill. Because I was doing stuff. When I worked in sports, and their social person reached out and was like, we're trying to, like, reach into a different category, and, like, you do, like, a lot of men follow you. Like, would you do, like, not like it, but like it was like they were trying to hit like that, like, gamer.
That's a wild demographic to try to get for Be More Chill.
I know.
It's like, well, I know who would like this show about nerds, sports guys,
gamers. I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll take the free ticket.
First show that I got, like, uninvited to was Harry Potter.
Oh, wow.
Which was very exciting. I'd already seen it, but I was like, I got invited to a theater show. Like, they see me. They believe in me more than just Museum Girl.
Museum Girl. Woohoo. It must have been 2022 when things really started, like, becoming a thing. Because I feel like for a long time I was buying tickets and making content. And it wasn't like I was fine with that. Like, that was, I'd buy a ticket on TDF or I'd Rush or whatever. And I made a video about every single show I saw.
And then they found you.
And then they found me. It was Carly Heitner, who runs Our Time Influence. She was, like, the first person that was, like, actively inviting me to stuff. And I was like, this is so crazy that people want me to come see their show and make a video about it. And that was, like, absolutely nuts. And then the first show that ever, like, hired me was The Shark is Broken, which was a play 2 seasons ago, last season?
Yeah, 2 seasons ago, right?
I think. Yeah, 2 seasons ago. And it was because I would talk about going to film school. And so Grace Aki reached out and was like, hey, I know you do a lot of stuff on, like, you used to talk about, I don't do that much movie content, but, like, I love movies. And then I talked about how much I love Jaws. And so I did, like, this very cool collab where they, like, brought me into a rehearsal, like, brought me in. I went to opening night. Like, it was all, I'd never done any of that before. And then I was just kind of talking about, like, the crossover between theater and fandom. And it was crazy because I was on the carpet before opening night. And Alex Brightman, like, came up to me and he's like, I want you to know that I watch every one of your videos. And I was like, what?
That's so sweet.
It was, like, so nice. And then, like, at the party, he, like, came up with his wife and he's like, I just wanted to say bye and, like, thank you so much for coming. And I was like, you're Alex Brightman. Like, it was, like, so kind. It's, like, I'm always, like, it sounds so silly, but, like, I'm always shocked when, like, performers or, like, people make, like, such an effort. Like, I saw Moulin Rouge a few weeks ago, and, like, John Cardoza sent me, and I, like, just tagged John, and I had never, like, really interacted with him, and he was like, I'm so happy you're here, and, like, thank you so much, and I really, like, respect the work that you do. And I was like, you're about to go on stage in, like, 5 minutes. This is so nice. Like, he was just, like, I don't know. It's obviously people, like, see my TikToks, but I, like, forget sometimes that they do.
Yeah, you feel like there's kind of, like, a wall between you and like, you do all that, and then.
And I'm also, like, so afraid of, like, I'm, like, not a shy person, but then in some ways I am a shy person where I'm like, I don't want anyone to ever think that I'm, like, bothering them. And I'm like, oh, I don't want you to, like, be annoyed with me ever.
So I feel like with social media creation, it's kind of like, oh, when you're, like, in high school and you're playing on Tumblr and you're like, oh, they're never going to see this.
Right.
And then now, like, with TikTok, you're like, oh, my God, like, people do see it.
Right. All the time. It's, like, crazy. It's just wild to me because I just assume that, like, why would anyone know? I was at something, and an actor, I'll leave the name out of this one. My friend was there with me, and she, like, introduced me. And he's like, yeah, I'm on the internet. I know who you are. And I was like, not in a mean way. I was just like, oh, hi, sorry.
Like, okay, I didn't know if you're on my side of the internet.
Right. Like, why would I ever assume anyone? I would literally never assume anyone would know me. And so I'm always, like, surprised when they're like, yeah, obviously. And I was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, like, theater influencer, because there's so many of you now, I feel like. And how do you feel like theater influencers have changed the industry?
Oh, I mean, I think, not to be, like, dramatic, but I do think that, like, it has changed everything. I mean, I think in general, I think theater it's really slow to change and really slow to, like, recognize things. And I think in a lot of ways, like, theater is very old school. And so it's taken a long time to get to where we are now, where I think that like when people are going into meetings, like they're like, what is our influencing plan? Which I don't think that ever used to be a thing in theater. And I always say, like, I think there are a million like cool young people in theater marketing who've probably been pitching ideas for like years and years and years, and they've just been being told no, and like finally now they're starting to say yes. And you're seeing that shift even within like just like theater content. Like the person that I always talk about is Austin Spiro, who like used to run New York City Center, just left New York City Center, and is now like on his own, and he is doing John Proctor. But he like is incredible. The work that Austin does is like, he's totally changed the way that we O'Mary. He has O'Mary, and he does John Proctor, and he just has completely changed like way that accounts interact with each other. And you saw that with New York City Center, where like New York City Center started doing those like teasers where they would like tweet out emojis to be like guess their season, and like they were inviting influencers stuff before like anyone was inviting influencers and stuff. Like they just got it, and it was a lot of the work because of what Austin was doing, and it's made like the shows feel way more accessible, and it's made like the social media accounts way more fun, and like those producers on those shows are saying yes because they're seeing those results of like people like wanting to come see cool theater because of the social media accounts. And I think that like it all directly like relates of like people want to feel like they're in the room, and they want to feel like they're involved. And I think theater fans especially, like all we want is like more access. Like we just want to be like, I'm like, I don't need a bunch of B-roll of like first rehearsals and people like hugging. I want like audio of like, here's us doing a read through, and like here's what it looks like, and like this is what, when you go to your first day in a theater, like this is what's happening, and like here's who's talking, and like that stuff is so cool to me. And I think a lot of people feel the same way, and I think that's what's kind of changed industry wide, is instead of it feeling like the secret, they're really starting to let people into the space and like see into the rooms that they were not allowed to before.
Yeah, I had Miranda from PAC NYC on, and we talked about like cats and all this stuff, and she's like, I've been trying and begging for like all this stuff for so long, but there's just so many different pieces between like unions and like stage management, and do you use this time for social media when you need to be rehearsing, and like, is it okay to be bringing cameras into a space that's supposed to be so vulnerable for actors to like create and discover at the time?
And that was like maybe Happy Ending was really open too, which was very cool, because Darren is a producer and also obviously the lead in the show. And so they would let us into like we got to go to I went to their first day of rehearsal, in the first day of tech. And I went to like in the middle of tech, they let us come and watch like a whole lighting demonstration of them like lighting the show. And it was literally like 2 hours of them going through like every single, like we were not like, they weren't showing us anything. They were just like, we were just there watching, but they were like, they'd be like, okay, take a step, stop. They'd like light it. They'd be like, okay, take 2 more steps, stop. And I was like riveted. Like I was like, this is incredible.
That would be like a nightmare to have like people being on tech that I would when I was in like college, it'd be like tech would be like crazy. Right.
But they just like let it, we just sat in the balcony, we like didn't say anything. We were just there, and at one point Darren was talking to Helen, and he was like talking about us, and he's like, no, I'm not, like, I'm so glad you guys are here, thanks for coming. I was just showing her how you can like see your cameras, and how that's how we know when we're being bootlegged, because you can always see the cameras.
In college, my lighting professor was Justin Townsend, and so
cool.
He let us come like hang out at tech with him.
That's awesome.
There was one time that there was like a work call before they had like a preview or something, and I like cried at the Jagged Little Pill lighting tech table.
Like, this is so cool.
No, I cried because I was having like a crisis about my thesis.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
And then he was like, okay.
You're like, yay.
I'm like, hi everyone, have a good show.
That's so funny.
And then like if influencers are there when I pulled up,
you're like, but it's just like, I think it's like a cool thing to allow people into the space for, because I think that's the thing is, it used to be like a show would start, and then they were like, okay, now we have to think about like how we're going to market it, and now it's like, no, you actually start like marketing your show like weeks, months before. And like, so tonight is the first preview. I don't know when this is airing, but like tonight, this is March 11th. It's the first show of Smash. And a year ago, Smash had something that I've never really seen any show do before, which is they had open workshop.
Oh.
So like you could enter a lottery to win a ticket to see. They did like a 6-week workshop, and then they did, I think, 7 performances that were totally free, that you had to win a lottery for, and you could go see Smash. And I won one of the tickets. It was amazing. And then we watched they did the whole show in a rehearsal room. Like it was like the full show. Mm-hmm. It was at Hunter. And then they gave us like a whole worksheet that we had to fill out with like feedback, and
cool.
It was so cool. But I had never, and so I'm really interested to see the show tonight. It's been a year. I know a ton has changed, and I'm just very curious, like having seen that workshop, and then a year later now seeing the show on Broadway, like it's awesome that like they would do, and that wasn't even an influencer thing. That was just like a thing open to the public. But I'm just curious, like that's, I mean, Smash has even been building obviously forever, but like this is the kind of runway we're talking about when it comes to like shows selling, because there's so many shows right now, and the only way to really like build an audience is to like have an audience before the show even begins.
Yeah, because before it's like announce show, announce cast, like announce, like show the key art, have nothing. Halfway through previews, you get some photos.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, we're open, and there's like a little B-roll stuff on the TV, and then that's it. And maybe a cast recording.
And now it's like that's not going to cut it anymore. Like you have to have a plan behind how are you going to get people to like choose your show over other shows. And that's a big thing that I always say, like if I have to pitch myself is, you know, they're like, oh, your audience sees theater. Like why are you helpful to us? And I'm like, well, my audience doesn't see every single show. I see every single show, so that when they come to me and they're like, what should I see? I'm like, here are shows I recommend. Like, because I'm going to see everything. And if someone's coming to visit New York, they're maybe seeing 2 shows, maybe 4 shows. They're not seeing every show on Broadway. And they have to pick those 4 shows and figure out what are the 4 shows they're going to want to see. And I want to be like, hey, what do you like? Then I can help you decipher the show you want to see.
Yeah, especially as like theater prices have been going up so much, like more than we ever thought they would.
Right.
It's like you can only pick so many. It's like,
it's why like and again, like I'm so excited because like I grew up in the era where like I could go see Spring Awakening for $25 literally any single day of the week, because when I was a student in New York, like you could walk up, I could buy a seat where I was sitting on the stage directly in the line of Jonathan Groff's butt, and I could watch Spring Awakening. And it was, I mean, at that point movies were like $7, so it was a little more expensive than a movie. But now, I mean, now it's like basic $25 is basically like the price you pay for a movie. But like that's not a thing. It's why like Smash is doing a student discount that's like I think $30.
Whoa.
And I'm like, thank good, like amazing. Like that's what students should have access to theater.
The show I've seen the most was SpongeBob, because you could get a rush ticket right before like the show started for $25. And we're like, okay, we're bored. What do? We can spend $25 on a movie or just go see SpongeBob on Broadway.
Right?
Again.
Oh my God, I love SpongeBob on Broadway. It was so good.
I'll ride or die for it. When people, Ethan Slater haters, I'm like, get out of here.
Get out, no.
I'm like, you didn't see those arms.
You don't understand. Singing Upside Down.
Butt Bob.
Everyone was like, Idina Menzel sings Upside Down. I'm like, you know who sang Upside Down? Ethan Slater.
While climbing with the arms. I love him.
And that's why he's dating Ariana Grande.
They're like, why?
Because she got it.
Because she saw SpongeBob.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope she saw it.
I hope me too.
So, like, it's really been changing the industry, theater influencers. But I feel like it's so interesting with the theater influencers. Like, there's such, like, a niche group of creators. Like, I feel like there are certain ones you're going to be like, here are the theater influencers, which I feel like they don't have in, like, other industries.
No, for sure.
That I've noticed. Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I love it because I grew up a theater kid, too. Like, I did high school theater. I was never talented. I'm not a talented actor or singer, but I loved it. And I loved it because I loved having, like, that group of built-in friends. And I feel like I'm in my 30s. I'm 34, and I feel like people all the time are like, "Oh, it's so hard to make friends when you're out of college." And like, and I was like, I have more friends now than I had when I was 20. Like, it is so great because I always like, there's always stuff going on. There's always things to do. There are always people who are around, and like, there's just such an incredible community here in New York. And I also, I made a video about this literally yesterday, but like, what I really love about Theater Talk specifically is that like, it really is like very open. Like, we love new creators. Like Ben, who's like, now he's not a new creator, but Broadway Ben, like he started 3 or 4 years after everyone else. But then like we just kind of adopted him into our group. He came with us to Edinburgh Fringe. He's come to London with me twice. Like we met like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago maybe. And like now even like every day I feel like there are new creators who start making content. And I don't feel like there really is any like shitty, like gatekeepy stuff because there's always like more theater to see. Like, so it's like I don't feel any like competition. Like, I just want people to see theater. And if someone else's video goes viral, I'm like, great, like amazing. Yeah. People will go see that show. Maybe like Joe Weinberg, like he made that one video for the oh my God, I cannot remember the name of the play, but it like sold the entire run out. And I'm like,
I love Joe's stuff.
Oh, me too.
We became Instagram friends when like TikTok was like going down, and I recently messaged him like, I want you to know I love your videos.
I adore Joe. And I love Joe because I always joke that I think he hates me, and he gets really upset. He's like, why would you think that? I was like, I don't know. I just assumed you hated me for like a really long time. And then we all were like, I mean, we had slightly overlapping Edinburgh Fringe trips. So like he came on like our second or third to last day, but we had like one meal with all of us, and I was like, Joe, we're all in Scotland together.
How do you think people can really like break into that, especially at a time where seems to be like a group?
Just like start making content. Like it really is that, like, again, like I was like, it's really is that simple. Like just start making videos. And like at first maybe you won't get a ton of things, but eventually you'll like start popping off. And also just start like, not to be like annoying, but like start commenting on like my videos, on Kate's videos, on the Theater Lovers, on Kaisha, on like everyone's videos. And like you'll just start building those relationships up. And it's one of those things where like if anyone DMs me, if I see it, because sometimes I don't see them because I forgot to check my like requests folder, but like we'll always like are down. Like I'm always like, yeah, like new friends. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
How did you get into doing talkbacks? That's so exciting.
Yeah. So the first 6 was the first one I ever did, and it was me and my friend Kaisha. Kaisha creates amazing content creator. She'll go follow her. And they invited us to do it, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, like what? How am I gonna? I was nervous about it, and then kind of sat with it, and I was like, okay, I think I should do it. I think it'll be a good experience, and it was honestly just really fun. And now I've done a couple. I did one with The Notebook. I've done 2 with Great Gatsby. I did one with an off-Broadway show that was really cool. And it's mostly I enjoy them because it's just like me getting to nerd out. Like I'll always like write questions, but then I end up like every single time I end up like skipping half the questions and just being like, so tell me about like this thing, because I'm just like curious. Like so I did one last week with The Great Gatsby, and it's no one's fault, but like the way that these talkbacks work is the day of they like put a sign-up sheet and people just like can sign up to do it. And so they couldn't tell me like who was doing it. They couldn't tell me how many people were doing it. It was for kids on Broadway. And so I like wrote questions, but I was like, I could be talking to Sarah Hyland and Ryan McCartan, but I could be talking to like a stage manager and like a dresser, which would be cool, but totally different conversations. And then it ended up being 12 people, which was wild. And it was everyone from like swings, Sarah Hyland, her dresser was one of the people, Ryan McCartan, a bunch of people. And so I started kind of like first doing some of the generic questions. And because it was kids' night, there was like some, they had to be like, talk about your first theater experience, because it was like, whatever. But then at one point I just kind of was like, whatever, I'm going to start asking questions. And so one of the swings was there, and I was like, can you talk about like, explain what a swing is? Because I don't know who in the audience even knows what a swing is. And then like talk about like what it's like when you don't know if you're going to be on that night. And when you are going on, like you could go on the matinee for one character and the evening for a different character. And like that was super interesting. And then I made Ryan McCartan and Sarah talk about what we're like replacing on Broadway. And Ryan was like, I love this question. I was like, I won. Like,
that's so fun.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you love theater, and then you get to be like on the stage.
Yeah.
Talking with
I don't know if it'll ever become normal. Like I will, whenever anyone asks now though, I'm like, I'll do it. Just invite me. I was like, everyone invite me. I will always do a talk back. Like I just think it's fun.
You're like, I love talking, and
if you want me to yap, I will yap. As you can tell, I will yap all damn day.
I love yapping. Okay, what's this Arts Insider thing that everyone's talking about?
Okay, so Arts Insider is through AKA, which is a theater marketing agency, and they basically invite us to be a part of this program where they have a whole like slate of clients. They send us to all the shows, and then we get paid like a monthly stipend, and we do like 2 videos under the Arts Insider like umbrella. But we can do any shows we want, and we can like kind of pitch them content ideas. This is the thing that like it was kind of when it first started, I think people were kind of confused in terms of what it is. And I was like, no, like it is not like them paying us to like say nice things about all of their shows. Like we very much like get creative freedom to like decide what we want to talk about. So like I saw Liberation, and I was like so blown away by this play. I just think it is incredible. Anyway, so I like pitched, this is like a show about eldest daughters. Like it is the most eldest daughter of eldest daughter plays. And so I did like a video all about being like, as eldest daughters, like that was like how I pitched it to them. And they were like, we love that idea. So like that is what the program is. And so it's nice because it's like a small stipend. It's not like a ton of money, but it is access to a ton of different shows that I might not have access to. And then I like getting to promote these shows, and I like Liberation's an off-Broadway. I mean, it got like rave reviews, so it's not like that it's not doing well, but like it's something that I'm passionate about, and I like that I can like make content around it. And I also can do content, like I did a Jonathan Larson Project video, and not sponsored, just because I love the Jonathan Larson Project and I wanted to talk about it. There's a whole thing where people get mad about influencers getting paid, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, I get being concerned about whatever, but I feel like anytime an influencer is being paid, as long as they're being like very open about the fact that they're being paid, obviously I don't have a problem with it, but I really only use it to like pay for theater. Like any money that I get from theater, it just like goes right back into like I'm seeing Smash tonight. I'm like, I bought those tickets. I spent $135 to go see Smash. Like that is where I get my most like kind of an annoyance, I guess, from the influencer space, especially the theater influencer space. And no names here or anyone, but like I don't like the concept of like I will only see a show if I'm not paying for it. I'm like, well, then you're not like a theater person for
Yeah.
multiple reasons. There are definitely shows that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't see that show unless I was seeing it for free. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, there are definitely shows that I'm like, I don't really have interest, but if like someone wants to give me a ticket, I'll go.
Yeah.
So I got invited to Jonathan Larson Project, but then I also like went back on Friday and I bought a ticket like a normal person, like because I like to support theater and I like to see theater and I want my money going back into theater. That is important to me.
It was also like with social media, it's like the reason a lot of us start this is because we like talking about things that we
Yeah.
like and we like the fun of it. And so, okay, you pay for something, you should you pay for the right to talk about how much fun you had.
Yes, I
or
agree.
how much you didn't like it.
Correct.
So it's like when I paid to see Aladdin and I was like, I do not feel bad for saying that this carpet is underwhelming.
Because you paid for it and you
Yeah.
have every right. And again, you're like, no shade to the actors riding the carpet.
Yeah.
No shade to the person. A little shade to the person who invented the carpet. But also, they invented it 10 years ago. Maybe we can upgrade because
Yeah.
it's been 10 years.
Bring back the monkey.
Bring back the monkey. There was a time in my life where I hated a lot more things because I used to be more pretentious about all of my art consumption. And I think if TikTok had existed then, I'd be in a much more difficult situation because I would just be shitting on so many things.
Yeah, I feel like we all go through like a phase of being a hater.
Yeah, and I think I'm just over my hater phase.
Yeah, it's like let's just have fun.
One-on-one, if you want to know shows I hate, I will spill all the things, but I just
Yeah.
don't feel the need to like put it on the internet.
Yeah, it's like when I go to museums too, people are like, "What's the worst museum you've been to?" And I was like, I don't think I've had like. There's been ones that I've been like, okay, I probably
Right.
won't go back, but none have been like bad.
Right, because again, everyone puts like nobody's going out there being like, you know what, I want to make a terrible museum. I want everyone to leave this having a bad experience. Like,
Yeah, it's like everyone's making things and think like, okay, this is cool.
right. Like again, no, I don't think anyone has ever written a show being like, I hope this show sucks.
Unless like their purpose is to make it suck, and
Right.
they're in on the bit.
Correct. But like in terms of like, I don't think anyone's going out of their way to be like, I want to write the worst show ever made.
I want it to be a financial failure.
Yeah, I want it to flop so hard that we don't even make it to open. I think it's exactly what you're talking about. Everyone goes into it with the idea of like, we want to make something and we have this idea and maybe it doesn't work, but they all hopefully are going into it with the best intentions of like making something, if not Tony winning good, at least commercially good.
Or at least good enough for it will come back and they'll redo Cats and then everyone will be like, oh, Cats is good.
Cats slaps.
I was a Cats hater until
Ballroom Cats changed my
and then I
life.
was like,
Changed my
okay,
life.
maybe there aren't bad shows, just bad direction.
Yeah, you know what? That's got a t-shirt. No bad shows, just bad directors.
How do you choose what to see?
So this is okay. So until this year, I have not missed a single Broadway show since 2020. So I've seen every single show since 2020. This year, I missed All In. So it's the first show that I just missed. I was more of a not realizing it closed when it closed and totally missing it.
When people debate, does that count as a show?
Correct. I mean, technically it does. I think overall it will not, like, I don't think it's going to be like a Tony show. So I don't think I really will miss it. Like, I don't think anyone's getting nominated.
Well, it's coming back.
It's all out. It's coming back. It's a different show. But technically it is the first show. Well, that wasn't like the Magic Show or like the Jonas Brothers one night concert or whatever. I missed those as well. But
Those were special engagements.
correct. So I've missed a couple of special engagements. But that was the first like Broadway show I'd missed. But I don't know if this season I will end up having Othello really is probably the only one that I will end up missing this season unless something happens, mostly because I don't really feel like spending a lot of money on it. And I've seen Denzel before, and I've seen Jake before, and I've seen Othello before, and I've seen a Kenny Leon show 2 times this season. So I don't like have a rush to go. And if something changes, I would obviously go. But that'll probably be like the first actual show I miss. And it's mostly because I'm a yapper and I like to have opinions, and I'm firmly in the camp of like I can't have an opinion on something that I haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is like I do have a problem where I just overschedule myself.
I admire how you schedule because I also schedule so far in
Yeah.
advance. And people are like, oh, why can't you just hang out? You're like, because I am busy.
I am busy. Like I literally, my friends and I have to actually tell them that I screwed this up because I had to book something. Like we literally have like a monthly like do not make plans day. But then like I got invited to an event that I was like, this is like happening once and the show's completely sold out. So if I don't go on this day, I can't see the show. And so I have to cancel this event that we literally scheduled out 2 months ago because we were like, let's try to do a friend night. But
So
it's a mix of shows that I really want to see and that I pay for, and then invites for things that and some of the, like the thing I like about being invited is there are shows sometimes that like are just not on my radar. And then I'll see it and I'll be like, this was so good.
yeah, or like something that you probably wouldn't have like sought out on your own.
No, and then I get invited and I'm like, oh, I'm like the show. So like this is this. I have no idea. I know nothing about the show. It's a musical called The Trojans. It's about like a Trojan War. It's a pop. It just sounded interesting. I was like, it's like a new wave sync sound musical. I was like, I have no idea what any of these words mean, but it sounds cool, and I got invited, and I'm gonna go just because it sounds fun, and like maybe it won't be good, but maybe it'll be amazing, and I'll be like, I'm so glad I like picked up this random musical because I thought it sounded interesting.
How do you balance like your work and then doing all your theater and content stuff?
So I'm very lucky because my job is fully remote, and I work from home, and I work mostly during the day, like a 9 to 5, like a normal person. But because I work from home, it gives me like a little more flexibility in terms of if I end up having to like sneak out early or work in the evening, like I can kind of do that. And I have a dog too, which is also like the way, because I'm home all day, it makes me feel better that I can like, I get up in the morning, we go on a big walk, I'm with him the whole day, and then I like give him a treat, and I'm like, see you later, and I like go see a show. So that's kind of how I do it. And then I just I'm not a good sleeper, so
Okay.
That's also, I don't sleep, so.
Because I feel like you had like the fastest turnaround of anyone I've ever seen.
I always say this is because I worked in sports. I think the reason that because again, I worked in sports, television, and I worked as an editor. And so like I'd work games where like you are watching a hockey game and someone scores and you have to like get that, I have to like pull this was back 100 years ago, back in the olden days where you'd have to like, I'd have to pull the video, this is the video, because it was like, and then I have to, record it, and then I have to edit it, and then I have to get it up before the next goal, because as soon as the next goal is scored, like nobody cares about the old goal. And so I just got like, I learned how to edit super, super, super quickly, and that skill has like sustained me throughout my entire career and through my entire content career. So like controversial, I like shoot everything in app for the most part.
Oh.
And so I just have I'm just doing it, clip, record a voiceover, post.
That is controversial.
Yeah. I mean, not sometimes now I don't edit an app or record an app, but I do almost everything in the TikTok app.
Okay. I don't do like anything in the TikTok app.
I love the TikTok app.
What have you seen recently that you really love? Like, what's your things you've loved this season?
We Had a World at MTC. It's like basically the whole run is sold out, but I want everyone to go see it. It's Josh Harmon. It was so good. Andrew Barth Feldman, Joanna Gleason. Just a really, really, really good show. Oh, yeah, Operation Mincemeat. I love Operation Mincemeat. I saw it in London like a year ago, and I've been thinking about it like ever since. You have to go again. You have to go see it. Okay. It is so silly, but it's so smart, and it's one of those things. The cast album's out if you want to listen to the music to like kind of get a feel for it. The way I describe it is it's like if Come From Away met like the Book of Mormon, but it's just good. It's so smart, and it's so well done, and I want everyone to go see it. And it is very British, but I think... To me, I don't think it's like so British that it's not funny.
What are your favorite things that you've like seen ever?
Ever? I mean, you probably know this. I'm a huge Hadestown person. I love Hadestown.
How many times have you seen Hadestown?
Somewhere between. I don't have an exact count. I guess I could look, but I've probably seen it like 50 times on Broadway, and then I've seen it 6 times in London and 4 times on tour, so somewhere in the 60 to 70
Alexa
range.
Submitted a question. She asked, what's your ideal Hadestown casting using everyone you've seen in the show?
Oh, that's so hard. Oh my goodness, that's so hard, because okay, here's the thing. I have such a soft spot for the original cast. I went to London. I mean, it's actually kind of crazy, long story short, is that like, I was in London. I had tickets already because I went to go see Great Comet, and I went to go see Jonathan Bailey and Richard II before they had announced that the original cast was coming to London, which is crazy that like the week that I was in London already was the week that they brought the original cast back, and I got to go to the first night like on a trip that I was already there for, because I would have flown to London for it, and I was just already had tickets, already had everything booked. So that was crazy. And so it's really hard for me because I love that original cast so much, but obviously there are other actors that I've like really, really loved. So for this question, I'm going to remove the original cast as options, just because I can't touch that. Okay, so they're gone. With them out of the way, the cast that I was like so passionate about was the Jordan Fisher, Saleha Pfeiffer, Philip Boykin, Betty Who cast. I loved them so much, the 4 of them. And then my favorite Hermes, my favorite Hermes is Malcolm Armwood. He's been with the show literally since the very beginning. He is the only original cast member still with the show. He is in the workers' chorus mostly, but he is understudies Hermes, and I think also Hades. But he's incredible, and I think his Hermes is my favorite Hermes of any Hermes I've like ever seen. He's so good. So the 5 of them together, I think, are amazing. And then I have a wide collection of fates that I really love. My favorite, like there was like a week where the Fates were Britt West, Yaya, and Emily Afton, and their Fates are like crazy, so fun, like, but totally wackadoo Fates.
I've only seen Hadestown twice. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, me too. Totally. We'll see more than that. It's totally crazy. Head back soon to see the new members of the cast, but maybe May because April's nutso.
Yeah.
We're deep in Tony season right now, guys.
You're right. We are in Tony season. Do you have any front runners right now?
It's really hard because obviously we still have so many shows to open. If I had to guess today, I would say maybe Happy Ending, but that could very well change because there are a lot of things that are coming. If I had to put money on it, I'd put maybe Happy Ending and Sunset Boulevard as our musical and revival. And I love Audra McDonald, but I'd probably put Nicole Scherzinger as our best actress. Hot take? I don't know.
So we're kind of near the end. Is there anything else you want to talk about before?
I mean, I could talk about all day. Once a week, bring me in. Theater update.
We can do it. We can... seasonal theater update.
I'll come in and be like, here's our first quarter, things to see. But no, I'm actually like, I've kind of been like, I feel the last like 2 months were kind of slow because we had a bunch of things open in the fall, and then it was kind of this like January, February are sort of like slow months in theater, and I was kind of getting bored. And so I'm excited to be back in it.
And so the question I've been asking everyone at the end is, what's been bringing you joy?
I guess I've been really contemplative recently because we're coming up on 5 years this is like the week of 5 years of COVID.
Yeah.
And so I got my dog in the middle of COVID in June of 2020, directly because of COVID, because I was losing my mind and I was like, I need a dog. And I always say this, but it was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was horrible. I got this puppy and I was like, this puppy's going to be so great. And puppies are really, 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 really hard. But now he's the best dog in the whole world and I love him so much. And now the weather's getting nice. It's been really great. I live like a 15-minute walk to Prospect Park, and it's off leash before 9 a.m. And so we've been getting up early. We've been walking to the park. It's just like such a great way. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't have a dog, if you go to Prospect Park before 9 a.m., you'll never see it's thousands of dogs just all off leash having the best time of their entire life. And you're like, I will never experience true joy in the way that all of these dogs are experiencing the best day of their life right now. And it's just the best. So it's been now that the weather is nicer, and I will do the 15-minute walk because I'm like, I'm going to go every day. And then in the winter, I'm like, I'm going to go never. Although I will go when it snows because he loves the snow, and the snow is pretty. But that's been my biggest piece of joy, is just having these little quiet mornings where I get to get up and take my dog out, and it's been really fun.
Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram at my name, Ashley Hufford, or on TikTok, also Ashley Hufford. I'm not really on YouTube yet, but I do have a YouTube, Ashley's All Theater. You can follow me there. But I'm all around. Always love talking. You can DM me. We can be friends.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Yay. This has been The Next Stop Is with Jane August. You can follow me, Jane, at Jane August on Instagram and TikTok. The Next Stop Is recorded at Brick House in downtown Brooklyn. It premieres on Brooklyn Free Speech Radio. You can listen to other episodes in the same place you're listening to this one.